Hey guys, it's Katie Room from Perips Press, and I'm here with David. He's just connecting and getting his stuff sorted out there. And we're just gonna do a little book haul and then a Lego chill stream. We went on vacation, and on the way back, we stopped at a bookstore.
The very last day we stopped on Half Price Books on the way back.
Yep.
So for dubious reasons.
Very, very little justification for the stop. It wasn't even a store that we've never been to. It's one of our usual stops.
But we hadn't actually been to that particular one for a while.
Right.
Actually, to anyone. For whatever reason, I don't know. Was it because? I think it was because you were sick.
Yeah.
I think we hadn't really gone since you were
sick for 3 weeks, and then I was sick.
And we had gone to Half Price Books multiple times while I was sick because I could power through.
But I can't.
You can't. So.
You guys, I will tell you guys about this right now before I forget about it. I have scheduled for tomorrow a release of a video that we took during our drive, not our vacation drive, but a different long drive. We took a video of ourselves on my phone. So I apologize for the quality, and there's road noise in the background. But
is the audio working?
No one said anything. I thought it was.
I'm just. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't seeing the light.
I thought I checked. We had a long conversation about developmental editing, and so if that's something that you guys are interested in hearing us talk about, we were talking about specifically, is it worth it? And that will come out at our normal time, 9:30, but tomorrow. I thought that might be something that people might be interested in. We have a lot of interesting talks in the car, and this time we threw the camera on.
Yeah, we always say, oh, we should just record our car conversations because they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
And that's a good segue to one of our guests who also makes great talking in the car videos.
Speaking of fun conversations, hey.
Yeah. Hey.
I haven't done one of those in a while. You guys are making me envious. I don't want to jump on that.
You record like on your trips to your work, right? And back?
It's not even that, because I work from home. Like I'm literally just like driving to Home Depot or something, or dropping off books at the post office.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good vehicle, as it were, to generating ideas. Gets the brain turning.
When I commuted to my job, I used to use the time sometimes to brainstorm. I would record myself brainstorming from my writing, and I actually wrote a bunch of one of my books just recording in the car. I kind of prefer just brainstorming rather than actually trying to narrate books, but it's a nice thing to do with your time when you're driving.
Can I ask you, when did you do that? What year in your timeline did you pull off having the focus to brainstorm an entire book?
So I wrote my first book in 2018. It took me about a year, and I published it in 2019. And then in 2019, I started brainstorming in the car.
Yeah.
So that was like on and off during that year that I actually narrated maybe 25% of the book or so in the car, but I also just did a lot of brainstorming because that book, it was more it wasn't planned out as well as my first one, so there was a lot of like world building stuff that I did, and I figured out a lot of that stuff just by talking, because I find that I can't like when I think, my brain can just kind of like spin its wheels. When you talk, it kind of like makes things real, and then you can
Absolutely.
actually get answers to questions. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't let me derail the focus of your conversation tonight, but it is kind of interesting. I don't know. I find I'm going to have to I think I'm going to have to reprogram myself because I used to be able to write while driving, and I just don't know if I have the focus like I once did. I think I'm going to have to retrain that muscle. So kudos to you for pulling that off in 20. I
yeah,
think I still had it in 2019, but
yeah,
since then.
I I think I probably wouldn't bother trying to actually narrate the book anymore. What I found about narrating is and what I did. So I got the idea from a writing podcast with Kevin J. Anderson,
Oh,
and
sure. Nice.
because he writes most of his books by narrating, and he doesn't use a text to speech app at all. He just records and then has somebody else, like a secretary or somebody that he pays to transcribe it. And
Wow.
what I realized is, because I'm kind of a slow writer, I can just record, and then me just like the total time of me recording and typing over is like way faster than me actually writing. So that was kind of a win when I discovered it. But what I end up writing ends up needing way more editing and revision and cleaning up than when I'm just writing.
Yeah, you said your characters tended to fall into specific sort of vocal patterns.
Yeah. I felt like
Sure.
the characters didn't have as much voice. They don't, just simply, they all start off sentences saying, "Well," because I'm still making it up as I go, right? And I would end up losing a lot of it. A lot of what I said would just get cut. So not as clean of a draft as just writing. Did you? Because I know you write comics and graphic novels and stuff. Were you writing a prose novel at one point by narrating?
Gosh, no, and that's kind of the arc I want to get to.
Okay.
Frankly, I do appreciate what you guys do. With New Pub, it's really admirable. Maybe it's the grass is greener right now, and maybe if I try it, I'm gonna really hate it. But it looks really it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I'll talking about grass is greener, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking at everybody making comics, just thinking, oh, how much easier would it be to try to sell a comic than a novel? But I can't pretend to know enough about comics to try to make one at this point. Maybe in a few years, once I've read more of them.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird skill set. We like to argue a lot about how comics, because comics are no longer, at least in America, they're not really thought of too much as a medium in their own right. They're kind of there's so many just hugely dominant media that people have kind of allowed to I don't know, almost kind of like colonize the comics imagination, so that we talk about them as like movies on paper.
Yeah.
Or they're visual. They're like, it's like a novel. Like, we don't even know what graphic novel means, but we figure it's like a novel, but with extra pictures or something.
Yeah.
There's all these ways that it gets like hyphenated in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been upsides to like storyboarders coming in and making their own comics of the last 20 years. That's been cool to see. Like, pacing kind of take a cinematic angle, and dialogue has definitely over the last 30 years become
Mhm.
definitely cinematic. Like people just only say like one sentence, maybe a phrase, you know, and in the 80s and 70s and before they used to like say paragraphs as they were
Mhm.
punching somebody, you know. But we
Yeah.
lose that kind of magic time of that the elasticity of time that uniquely is expressed in the comics medium that you can't you'd lose that charm. You'd lose that illusion, I think, if you tried to do
Mhm.
that in novels or movies or other
Mhm.
things. So we've kind of compressed our ability. We've got a smaller vocabulary now in
Mhm.
comics, which is kind of sad. Which is one reason why I want to try novels, because
Yeah.
at least like people know what a novel is still, and they know what
Mhm.
it's supposed to do and what it can and can't do. And I want to try
Mhm.
that. But,
Yeah. I think if I were ever to try to do a comic, I'd want to have my own idea of what I'd want to do with a comic, not just be making a comic because it's easier to
mm,
sell, right? And I'm not interested in movie making, but I think some people think of comics as like, oh, it's a springboard to, getting this adapted as a TV show or a film or something, and I wouldn't want to do it for that reason. Um,
mhm.
Actually, something I think is pretty interesting about comics is the lettering and the graphic design element of the type. So I think if I did a comic, that would be something I would try to get into and make a big part of it.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. What attracts you to lettering? Is it the sound effects? You know, the cool stuff you can do with that, or
Um,
speech bubble techniques, or
yeah, all that stuff. So I started reading Spawn a couple months ago,
nice.
and I was just really, really impressed with the uh the the lettering and all the graphic design that is put into the lettering and stuff in that book.
Mm,
It's really intentionally done. Like many different characters have their own fonts and
yeah.
just very like really cleverly done layouts, and like just how the dialogue is emphasized and kind of comes to life in that element of it is really neat.
Mm.
Um, and I'm
It's neat. You can almost give like you can hear dialogue more, I think, in comics
Yeah,
in a way, or you have permission to do that
yeah,
because you can do those different fonts. It sounds like accents in a way. It reads like
yeah,
there's a different timbre to each voice
yep.
that you couldn't do in a novel, which I think is really fun. You couldn't do that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty fun.
And that's not something I'm a big fan of in novels, right? A lot of people like to italicize words in novels for emphasis, and I don't like doing that
Mm, hmm.
so much. But it's really neat to see it being really well and intentionally done in comics. And I'm kind of interested, in visual art, and I
Yeah.
I it's something I like to, like I've done some cover design and different things like that. So
Oh, nice.
thinking about fonts and typography and stuff is something I've got kind of an interest in. So it was a neat part of comics to discover as I'm kind of getting into comics that can be like a really big part of why I might appreciate a certain comic.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to have someone like yourself, David, like come into the space in this self-publishing space for comics and really make a note like a name for himself, like as the like wow, this comic is really saying something with the lettering. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's really making an impact, and it's like lettering forward. I don't know, like that.
yeah,
That's like a strength and a feature. It's not a lot of people. I can't really think of anyone doing that.
yeah. I
So
can't either. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, but like I was
I
when
think
when
Donald DeLay would be one. Like
okay.
he's the only. I don't know if you follow him. He's kind of in our spaces.
Yeah,
He's CG-ish. So
yeah. I don't know. I've read quite a few different like sort of modern indie comics, and then
hmm.
earlier this summer I started collecting all the early Image comics. And when I finally got to
cool.
Spawn, I was just blown away. It's so far ahead of everything else in terms of the lettering design. It's really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys, I don't know. I just find you guys really interesting. It's nice to see a couple that streams and has similar interests and ambitions and avocations. That's really cool. You're
Yeah, I got
also
that.
like
Yeah.
you're very like there's like a pipeline of posters of like you guys and like I think his name's Ryan Dave. There's like reformed posters. Free Narnian. I don't know if he's reformed, but like there's these folks that I don't know, somehow like I'm still trying. It's like a game to figure out if all these people actually they might just be 2 or 3 people, or they all live in the same town and they happen to go to you guys' church or
Oh
something.
no, they don't.
Nope.
They don't. We're in a pretty sparse area when it comes to Reformed people.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of in our area. There's a lot of like good Bible believing evangelical churches, so there isn't really a shortage of that. But it's not
Sure.
like there's Presbyterian churches out the
Right.
wazoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's our church, and then it's like an hour in each direction to get anything like it.
Hmm.
So
Well, you guys definitely found the folks on Twitter, at least on X.
yeah, I think.
It's been fun
Mhm.
connecting with people over different aspects. Like everybody who tuned in today probably clicked on Book Haul and Legos, and those are just 2 of the things that we will talk about today. We've already talked comics.
Oh yeah, you
Now we're
guys,
talking
you lead
Reformed,
the
right?
discussion. Obviously,
It's just it's a lot of fun to connect with people
Mhm.
about our varied interests.
I think X makes it pretty obvious. If you're good at Twitter, it makes it obvious like what your beliefs are, so you can find people pretty easily that you agree with. You can also find people really easily that you disagree with, like because it kind of lays everything bare. But
absolutely. Yeah,
So-
I'm jealous. You've actually talked to some of those people before I did.
Oh.
I was like, I gotta start streaming just so I can collect these streams with these interesting people. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it's been really fun having Free Narnian on. I don't know
Yeah.
if did you see if he wanted to hop
I
on
did.
tonight?
He connected he was here in the chat. Sorry guys, I haven't said hello yet. I see all of you. I appreciate you. And he liked my post, but he didn't reply and he didn't.
Okay.
So
Oh.
I'm guessing he's busy.
Yeah.
Tips in the night.
Yeah, for sure. It would be really fun. I have sort of a vision of having a kind of a regular group that could kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Whether it's on this stream or some other stream.
He didn't even see it.
Oh no. Okay. Because it's fun just to be able to talk, and I'm kind of thinking back to that conversation that
Yeah, I did.
that we were having the other day, Matt, and it's like there's something much more real about talking on stream versus Twitter. Even.
There he is.
So here he is. So here's your chance, Matt.
Oh my goodness. This is my brush with destiny. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm a little flushed, but yeah, happy to be here. You're such a cool. I mean, all these people are so cool, and it's so funny that everyone seems to be connected and they know each other, and at least on X. And now they're streaming together, so it's just cool to. I'm just here to notice and appreciate that.
Birds of a feather, right? It's our destiny that we find each other.
Yeah.
At least online.
Yeah. Matt was mentioning kind of a group of reformed people. Free Narnian, are you reformed?
No.
But you're sympathetic, right? You're not like a rabid anti-Calvinist.
No, I'm not. I am very. I'm non-denom.
Okay.
But I am sympathetic towards the very sympathetic towards the Calvinist position. I owe a lot to a lot of Reformed literature that actually kind of helped me sway over to looking at things from the Protestant point of view.
Sure.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I'm definitely not anti-Calvinist by any means.
Yeah.
You meme with the best of them, so that's what's important in our perspective. So
Yeah, I am a staunch. I guess in some ways I'm the true Lewisian. Like not particularly high or low. I stand squarely in the middle between like Lutheran and Calvinist perspectives, but
Just a soft universalist.
not quite. No, not to that extent. No, but within like that divide, you know, like
Mhm.
kind of like
I grew up Baptist and not Reformed Baptist. And when I say not Reformed Baptist, that means very, very not Calvinist.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
standing in opposition to
Yeah,
that.
her church split when
Mhm.
she was little, and her parents went to the side left basically because it turned Calvinist.
Mhm.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then I brought him home.
Yeah.
yeah,
now
I
I will-
had no idea of any of these divisions going up. I guess I could drop a little bit free Narnian lore. I actually, believe it or not, I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
So I had a totally I had really no idea of the Protestant world until like as an adult.
Hmm.
Like I didn't appreciate what the actual differences or beliefs were.
Yeah, even on Twitter, the Catholics like to just call us the Protestants.
Hmm.
Like we're all linking arms over here.
Yeah. When in reality, everybody hates everybody.
As God intended.
Yeah.
The ultimate kahuna says, I think he's talking about Free Narnian. You're a heathen because you read Lewis Who Has Santa in his books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah, what are we we're it's that time of year now, right? I posted on Twitter X. I'm waiting for the trad arguments against Halloween.
Oh no.
Or not just that, of the specifically the Walshian arguments. I'm waiting for someone to come out and complain about teenagers trick-or-treating because that's the big problem in the world today, obviously. Right, nothing is more side for the the horrible selfish youth that they do anything to have fun in the
You
bleak
guys-
modern world.
I remember being a teenager and going trick-or-treating with my younger sisters and having somebody tell me, "You're too old for this, aren't you?" And it was like devastating to me.
Yeah.
That's horrible. It's a horrible thing to say to a kid.
When you said fundamentalist arguments against Halloween, I was picturing like it's actually like a Satanist ritual, like all of like bobbing for apples is like the pagan baptism ritual kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of it. That comes around for Christmas too every year.
Yeah.
My favorite ever. The thing where I just realized, the
Oh, no.
sheer yeah, candy corn. No, but like the sheer like Kierkegaardian absurdity of mankind is when I remember someone in all earnestly put forward the proposition that Christmas is very dangerous because haven't you realized that the word Santa is an anagram for Satan?
Oh yes.
And I like so this is like the sheer absurdity of of
Yes.
it's
great.
beyond words, right?
Yeah,
I,
there was
go
a
ahead.
pretty good movement. Was that last Christmas? You and Manlet Thorin. there was a hefty movement, a pro Santa movement where I
Yeah.
think Santa was. I think we can confidently say we took Santa back
Yes.
that day. Yeah.
Proudly so. Yes, we are all Santa believers in this chat. In this,
Mhm.
or as we say, this account stands Santa. Absolutely.
We as and in like in high school, well, my family was always very pro Christmas, but we never like believed in Santa. Like my parents were always like, yeah, it's a game, right? Like my dad would pretend to be Santa, and we would giggle and laugh because we knew it was my dad, and we didn't like, we were under no illusions about that. And like I kind of got up my own butt about it in high school, and like argued with people that Santa was bad because he sets a poor archetype of Christ and God.
Legalist. Yeah. Mhm.
Legalist.
So what's your own answer to that? How would you refute the high school version of you, Katie?
I would probably say, well, poor archetypes are made to be corrected.
Or that's just not his function, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not
not
a
everything
big
has to be
deal,
a
right?
type
Like-
of Christ.
Like
It-
I say that theology in novels doesn't have to be perfect, right? Even when it's
Mm.
wrong, it can spark discussion and seeking and stuff like that, right? So it's
Mm.
like, I think everybody should be reading fiction, but they should also be reading the Bible, right? So like, but yeah, that would probably be where I land on that now. We got a good comment from Doug Wise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's Doug say?
Let he who has not attended a church harvest festival in the late 90s, early 2000s cast the first stone.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Well, I just want to create a quick. I'll reinforce what Doug's saying there. I think that there's a constellation of motifs going on with fall and winter now, with the pro Santa and the pro Halloween, but then the like reactionary Halloweenies and stuff. We were just trying to do trunk or treat or like I don't know, or fall festivals. It's actually kind of everything's kind of glomming together into like a richer season of festivities, I think, that
Mhm.
isn't just consume product,
Yeah.
eat candy, go buy a Walmart costume. It's
Yeah.
much more than that now. But it doesn't exclude that. And
Right.
same goes
Exactly.
with Christmas, I think, to a lesser extent. We're still working on that. We're still conquering territory in that space. But certainly with the fall,
Mhm.
it's just more multi-dimensional now, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point. I can say that for where I live in a huge holiday town, in that like people get really into it, especially with fall stuff now. In the last few years, people like are just super into Halloween, and then like
Mhm.
and then it just like it's like this big bang, and then it just carries over into Christmas in terms of like people decorate and have fall themed uh homes and so forth.
Mhm.
I like to decorate for fall because it makes me feel cozier. And then it sort of is like a consolation prize until I get to Christmas decorating.
Mhm.
Sure. Like even it's a lame meme now, but even like pumpkin spice lattes, they didn't exist a decade ago, if I
Sure.
remember correct. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's part of this new
Mhm.
flowering of falliness, which is kind of exciting. You
Yeah.
know?
The cynical way to look at it though is just stupid commercialism, but the
Sure.
non-cynical way to look at it is it's another fun thing you can enjoy, right? And
Mhm.
something to give thanks for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to look at it the cynical way, and now I choose not to. I'm
Yeah.
slowly purging cynicism from my personality every single day. This is my personal project.
Yeah, I saw you just got back from vacation and you touched grass, you said.
Yeah, you're on,
Yes.
you're on some
Let's talk about that white pill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I just got back. Very enjoyable time, spending lots of time in nature and kind of going around and saw some really cool sights.
I didn't
And
look at
yes,
all of
and
the
no,
pictures.
I was kind of drifting into this direction anyway, just in my own thinking on things. But this kind of just really like solidified it for me that like I'm just very exasperated with the constant cortisol factory that's pervades across social media. And
Mm.
so I'm recommitting.
Well.
I am choosing to be the Bombadil that I want to see in the world. I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking it upon myself. This is my mission now.
Excellent.
Because like right, I can't. It's not given to me to be able to change the course of events, right? But I can work with the talents I have, and so yes. But yeah, especially being out in nature, being out by the ocean, like that air just like purifies your being. You can just feel it,
Yeah,
fill
I
your lungs
considered
with
giving
it.
you crap because in the pictures that I saw, I didn't see any grass. Like
Wow,
it was like ocean.
it's an expression. It's rhetorical.
Well, technically.
It's, yes, you're right. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a total hypocrite.
Do you guys mind if I just say hi to the chat? I feel like people keep rolling in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone loves chat.
Okay. Timo Burnham, he was in at 9:19. He was ready. Matt, you were in there. Eric Wag, J.E. Tabber.
Need to figure out how to pronounce these people's names.
I know, I'm sorry, guys. William Jeffrey Rankin, TJ Lombardi, Free Narnian, Resonant One. Oh, John Douglas.
Oh, nice. Fiona Wolf is here.
Fiona Wolf, the Ultimate Kahuna.
Oh, Fiona Wolf.
Doug Wise.
Doug
She's from my
Wise.
neck of the woods. How you doing, Fiona Wolf?
Yeah, she's Florida, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant she
Oh.
comes from my streaming neck of the woods.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Tabor.
Tabor, okay.
Got it. Ultimate Kahuna says, hit that like, y'all. Doug Wise said, I have no grasp, but I must touch.
Oh no. Yeah. Not sure about that. Yeah. Ultimate Kahuna is angered by the fact that everybody lives in Florida when he has to live in Hawaii.
Oh.
Hmm.
What a burden.
We've got a really nice geographic spread
We do.
here. It's great. How wonderful is that?
We are everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's but that's what I enjoy so much about Twitter, despite all of the crap that's on there. I don't get to connect with people like this about my hobbies and passions in real life. Like, nobody in my life cares about this kind of stuff, but I can connect with people who do, and I think that's awesome. And it doesn't matter where in the world we are. I mean, unless we all want to be on a stream together, in which case we've got to navigate time zones, which involves math.
Time is relative.
Yeah.
Was it can I ask, was it COVID for you guys? Is that what you're tracking as the like the origin point of you know, when people started just trying to like connect with folks online and have conversations on an accelerated rate. So that's what it seems like it was for me.
think
Like
so.
everyone was like logging in and watching people, like a few people have conversations, you know, like everyone's following from the chat, but I think it was around late 2020 that people just started saying, I'm going to start my own thing.
Yeah.
I think for me it was earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't
Good.
start
Even better.
streaming, but I used to like basically I wrote my book in 2018, and then I got on Twitter in 2019, a couple months after I self-published it, basically trying to find an audience for it and just connect with other friends like
Sure.
that. So I was listening to a lot of like JDA's streams in 2019. And
You listened to
stuff like
JDA
that.
in 2019?
Yeah, back when he was on the outs with Comicsgate.
Oh, fun.
I
Yeah,
saw
that was raw and uncensored JDA.
Oh, it was great. I remember this stream where he had Preston Poulter on after Preston Poulter's porn video got leaked. It was like,
oh, you know the deep lore. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. It goes way back. So I saw that whole side of it before I got into the Comicsgate side. And I really, really enjoy Comicsgate now. I love Comicsgate. So it's interesting, and I know, Matt, you're kind of somebody who's been, I feel like you never aligned yourself with like a side of that so much. You kind of managed to sort of be a friend to everybody through that whole arc, it seems like. But
Is that your evaluation? That's really interesting. I like to listen to people describe me, actually, honestly, before I try to describe. Yeah. Well, the tough thing, I mean, frankly, the big wigs never took a big liking to my comics, which is fine. And frankly, my comics aren't for. I mean, the market audience isn't someone who used to go to the mainstream, local comic shop and then found that they were no longer, that they've been summarily dismissed as a customer.
Yep.
And then they were forced against their will to go into the indie and self-publishing sphere to find something else. Like for me, like I started in comics because I never found anything interesting except for some dark, like Aliens or something, or Dark Horse stuff, some Star Wars comics, but the mainstream never had any, like it never courted me to begin with, but Euro comics did. Basically anything outside of the US is doing comics of every genre. And comics is a medium outside the US, and unfortunately, whether it's the mainstream or the reactions to the mainstream, comics is it's a medium, but it's also it is kind of soft. Like there's understood that it's kind of a genre too.
Yeah.
What's a comic book movie? Comic book movie is a superhero movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means that superhero is the genre that defines comic books, the medium, which is kind of subsumed that. And people only say that in America, for better or for worse. So CG's, I've always been a friend of CG, and in a lot of ways I am CG, but CG can't really be me, because CG has different goals in mind, I think, than what mine is. Like, but in 2023, CG doesn't really have, it's just there's way too many people doing all kinds of different things in different directions. So it's easier than ever before to like hang out in those spaces, and you don't feel like you have to make a superhero comic like you might have earlier on, which is kind of cool. So yeah. And frankly, like too many, I showed up in 2019 trying to sell comics in that space, which means half the people hated the other half, and they were all buying my comics. So how loud are you going to be about picking, a faction If you,
Yeah.
if you know, the whole point is that you're not trying to like divide your audience, right? That's the whole
Right.
principle. So you're
Right.
gonna have to like keep your mouth shut if you're a creator. So that's part of the reason why you feel like I'm too wishy-washy about my stances on
No,
who's
I
which is entirely fine, and that was very intentional.
no, I didn't mean to say that you're wishy-washy, right? I don't,
That's not fair. You're right.
like it's just that, I think there's also, you can try to maximize your audience by not picking fights that you don't want to pick,
Mhm.
but you can also build an audience by picking fights. Right. And I think that's what JDA is good at.
Oh yeah.
Some of the more trollish members of CG are good at, and I personally just enjoy, like, I enjoy a lot of the personalities in CG. I like Ethan Van Sciver a lot just as a person. I find myself agreeing with his opinions about things a lot, and I like the way he expresses himself, so it's just fun to listen to him. But
Sure.
I think yeah, like for me, what I enjoy about being CG is, like, I don't have that aspiration of being a comic book creator. I'm not a professional comic book creator. I'm not really intending on making a comic or selling it. So it's just kind of like this nice group of people who are doing creative work that they're like, it's really sad, but it's kind of like they're like my friends, right? Like they're people that I
Sure.
can look to for
Yeah.
inspiration, and I'm not threatened by them. I don't feel like I have to get into that group, or they're gonna discover me and not like my work because I'm not a comic artist, right? Or I'm not making comics. I can just appreciate them without trying to be a part of it.
Yeah, what's up with that? You can hang out in those spaces, and you don't have to make or consume the content that they're. Well, I guess
I do
I guess
consume
we're all consuming the YouTube content and the X content, which
Mhm.
that's always been my argument, which is one reason why I'm like a minority. I'm like a black
Mhm.
sheep in this CG thing. It's because I really think it's a YouTube and Twitter movement. It's not so
Mhm.
much a comics movement, or at least if it thought it was before, it isn't now. Like, because you
Mhm.
don't have to make or buy comics to be
Mhm.
CG, but you probably are watching the YouTube content, which are also products because they're monetized, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
and they're very
So
good. They're very,
yeah,
very good products, right?
yeah, sure,
They're miles ahead of just about anything else, right? Um, but
sure, yeah,
but the actual comic products are good too. I really like Ethan's
yeah.
comics. There's other stuff that I've discovered through CG that I really like. Um, so yeah, it's all good. It's all good
Mhm.
stuff.
I haven't watched one of Ethan's streams in a while, but I've always thought, like whatever, you think about like his opinions or him, like Ethan's deadpan comedy is such gold. Like
Hmm.
the way he delivers his jokes when he's joking
Hmm.
around, and his sense of humor is so. I remember when I first started watching Ethan's videos. I remember way back when he was reviewing Star Wars action figures.
Oh yeah,
And,
when he destroyed them.
yeah, well, no, but
Yeah,
like just like how he would critique the movies and stuff, and like he's just funny. He's a
yeah.
really funny guy.
Yeah, he's a good storyteller. Like, honestly, just him telling a story about his day, I find to be
Yeah,
really entertaining. Like he told a story the other day on a stream, and I actually played it for Katie about how he got up and he took his wife out to breakfast because he had ordered this giant desk that they were going to use for fulfilling orders, and he had these guys, he employs these young guys in his warehouse, and he basically told them their job was to put it together, and they called him during breakfast and they couldn't figure out how to put it together, and he was so angry, and they ended up wasting the whole morning building this desk. And the way he told the story was just I just found it to be really funny, and I just enjoy that kind of content. Just somebody telling a funny story about their day.
Yeah. That is a pretty like benign thing, and he is able to pull it off, which I think shows his skill as like a comedian, right?
Yep.
But
yeah,
like half the time David will be laughing, just busting a gut, tears running down his face. He's got to take his glasses off. I'm like, what is it? He plays it for me, and I'm like, this is guy humor.
Yeah.
Like,
I
this
remember
was the Giant Boys Club.
I remember a while ago he did a debate stream with I forget who it was. I forget the name of the person that he was debating with, but they were getting to some of more like the political issues of CG and whatnot. But he trolled her by he dressed up, right, because he's always on camera, but he purposely dressed up as like a caricature of himself, where like he was wearing like a pinky ring and like he
Yep.
was wearing like gold chains and stuff. And like, but like, so deadly. He's just so like, deadpan about it.
Yep.
It's hysterical.
Yeah.
I could like, look, you turn on the stream and I just start laughing. Like look at him.
He's a master. He's an absolute master at it.
Yeah. They do cool stuff too, where they'll like draw together and like just it's just good content, good entertainment, and you feel like they're actually doing stuff too, and they're not just talking about it.
Over the past few weeks, they've done some streams where, like on Post Kings, where they get out an old Image comic and actually all critique it together.
That's cool.
And Ethan actually like draws on it, and they spend quite a while, like upwards of an hour, going through it, drawing on it, talking about it, redrawing parts of it. They did Youngblood #4, which has the first appearance of Pitt, like short story in the back. And
cool.
Dale Keown was on. And they basically went through the whole Youngblood #4, kind of like lovingly but bitingly criticizing Liefeld's art, right? And then they get to Pitt. And it was the most wonderful thing, because it was like everybody was saying, when I saw this, I was just blown away by it. I loved it. They're going through kind of like critiquing it, but just saying showing how much better it is, and how instead of all the things he's doing wrong, it's all the things he's doing right. And Dale Keown was just there, just grinning, being all humble, like, yeah, I
see that's like spectacular content that it took.
It's wonderful.
It took years to build up to the point where there'd, I guess, be enough pros, that could be on the show to be able to contribute like that with the like insider knowledge of like how the sausage got made in the 90s, and or the people who actually drew that content, getting interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes I wonder, like, could they have pulled that off if they had started with that in 2018? But there was just no way. Like you had to have like crazier people doing wilder, riskier, oftentimes stupider things in the early days to really because like no one even like brought us a Star Wars toy on a stream and talked about how stupid it looked, like until that, like that wasn't even really an industry, or it wasn't something people were looking for. So now they can kind of settle in and kind of do something a little more, almost like normie content in a way. But
yeah. And to like go back to like your original like question about when did that start? Like EVS and John Del Rose, like these guys were doing stuff for a while before like we started. But I think particularly thinking about it in the context of Iron Age, I think quite a few creators were doing stuff, and then the shutdowns hit. But like a lot of things happened at once. There was the shutdowns, and so everybody suddenly had time to consume media, time to make media, time to finish off the projects they'd started earlier. And there was George Floyd. So there was the shutdown, and then there was like the COVID and then vaccine like political confrontation,
Yep.
the George Floyd political confrontation. I think the time available to consume media sort of was like, it was just like the whole thing was a slap in the face to anybody who disagreed with their politics.
Yeah. It was a time when relationships were shattered and people probably had to go find new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
You know?
Wow.
So I think,
Yeah.
I think that was a big part
Mhm.
of sort of the current trajectory
Yep.
of the indie
Yeah.
sphere as a
And then like for us just looking and seeing what's missing,
yeah.
right? Because I think, you know, there's a lot of people who talk about this or that. So it's like, oh, do you want to just, you don't want to just add to the noise. But like, I think it took us a little while to find what our niche was.
Yeah.
But it was certainly inspired by just the fact that these other people are doing it and having fun,
Mhm.
having fun doing it.
Yeah.
I started to see, I don't know if it's just a coincidence or not, but I kind of identify you guys, you, Katie and David, with the Iron Age in particular. And I don't think it's just, well, I don't know. A lot of that has to do with you guys having like, almost like being in a commentary space in self-publishing and, new pub type circles.
Yeah.
And yet you guys were here before then. Like, did you guys find, is that what your voice, is that when you found your voice, when Iron Age became a thing?
No, I would say
It's sort of funny how it happened, right?
Yeah.
Because see, I wrote and published a couple books and really nothing happened, right? And then since 2020, I've been kind of in this lull. Well, maybe not like a lull, but I haven't been writing a book with like a clear
Right.
deadline to like I'm going to publish it since 2020.
right, there's as far as putting out a
Yeah.
book.
But during that time is when Katie started her review site.
Yeah.
And that I think was important because there's really not a lot of other people doing what she's doing, so it's a pretty unique thing.
Yeah, launching the review site was sort of my like
Mhm.
I'm doing something different
Yep.
moment. And then when Iron Age was coined, I thought, yeah, this makes sense as a term for what I'm already doing.
Mhm.
And so in the community that I already had,
Mhm.
there were a couple of us who latched onto that.
Mhm.
And then new people just keep pouring in, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And I'm kind of working on my own creative projects. I'm hoping by the end of the year to have like a new book outlined and be able to go into next year with kind of having a more clear idea of deadlines. But like part of what I've been doing is like just sort of deciding, hey, this is a hobby, it's not a job. There's nothing to be gained for me by trying to write books as fast as I can. I'm going to do the creative work that I want to do and see what it, just kind of experiment and see what it turns into. And we'll talk about stuff along the way, but this isn't like an effort that's primarily about, self promotion.
Yeah, I just want to share, like, I think this is super cool. So like, check this out. David did this in Blender with code.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah, you've got this whole like 3D side to you too, don't you, David?
Yeah, well, and see the thing is that's something that I've had in my head for a long time, right? And I had, when I was writing my books, I was like, oh man, it would be really cool if I could make like decent covers with ships. I'm like, oh, I could do that with code. But then it's like you can't do that while you're writing, right? So I had to kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to set the writing thing aside. I'm going to work on visual art. I'm going to work on this game project. I'm just going to try other things, right? This is a long-term thing. There's no rush, right? So I've built all this stuff now, and I have this vision and belief that you have to promote things with visual art. So I'm building the tools. I'm experimenting with visual art that can get people's attention. And the goal here is like when I have a new book of my own to put out, it's going to come with the most startling, shocking visual art campaign that you've ever seen. So that's what all this is building towards. And it might be a couple years, right, before something really solidifies, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's part of being a hobbyist is,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's, I mean, almost verbatim, I think the same thing.
Yeah. Have you seen Narwhal's comics in the last,
Yes.
particularly the last couple of years? He does a lot
Yes.
of 3D stuff,
And
in the book, which is a huge time saver and kind of adds to a distinctive style.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could mention that, because I need to actually back his Hotel Story book sometime.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I thought of. Like, he put out that trailer and everybody was just like, "Oh wow, this is so amazing!" And I mean, it is really cool, but it's like I feel like I can see, I know how the sausage is made, and like that's not outside the
Yeah.
reach of what I could do, right?
Oh, he started teaching himself Blender in early 2021,
Yeah.
I think. So, absolutely.
Yep. And that's the cool thing about this stuff is there's so many good tools now. There's so many different things that you can do. We're in such an amazing time as far as like having the tools and resources to be able to experiment with all this stuff. It's just a great time. It's just a great time to do this stuff. So we're lucky.
Is that what Iron Age means to you? I've been on a journey trying to figure out what Iron Age is. But
I just did a big tweet about this
okay,
earlier today or yesterday. Because somebody asked me. I think it's like a zeitgeist and then people who identify with the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm. It's very loose.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the way that
Okay.
I would define it is like people want us to like say like values or like qualities of it. But it's very decentralized. It's basically like embracing like the independent aspect of indie and not like used to be a lot of people were indie and kind of in the hopes that they'd be picked up later. And that would happen. TradPub would contact an indie author with a track record and say, hey, we'd like to publish your stuff. And so a lot of people went the indie route kind of in the hopes that they could sidestep the slush pile that way. But I think Iron Age is more like, I don't have to write for them. I can write for my audience, and that audience can be people that aren't being marketed to by TradPub. And as a result, you get the Iron Age, which is more defined by like values that TradPub won't publish, conservative, religious audiences, male audiences in particular, and then like fun over message, right? Like just, hey, this is just mashing all of the cool stuff together for a standalone book, and we're gonna have fun, and we're not gonna be lecturing you, right? Like right now, TradPub can't even fathom that kind of
Mhm.
media. So it is like not TradPub, like it's like a reaction against TradPub, but it's because of how narrow TradPub has become. The reaction has certain qualities generally.
The reaction is going to be so broad, I guess, because
Right.
because the mainstream's so narrow.
Yeah,
How interesting is that?
it's
Yeah.
really so bizarre.
And I think Iron Age is very broad, right? So
Yes.
there's multimedia projects, you know, there's people calling themselves Iron Age who are doing film, comics,
Mhm.
music. And then like, you know, within writing, it's more of a genre. I think it's more of a sort of people doing what they want, you know, like compared to something like Pulp Rev. So like when I came on Twitter, the group of people that I found when I was trying to sell my book, who I kind of identified as my group, were the Pulp Rev people, because they were all, you know, Christian people kind of doing indie stuff with sort of a Christian, an edgy
neat.
Christian bent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
I think as time went on, I realized that Pulp Rev really has a very specific set of values that I don't have, and weren't a part of what made me want to write. Right.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
I I think I went through something where I used to read a lot when I was younger, but then I kind of quit reading because I couldn't find stuff that I wrote. But like, I just wanted to write my story. I wasn't like trying to bring back some publishing tradition from a
Right.
certain time or anything.
Mm.
And I don't, I think Pulp Rev makes a lot of claims about pulp as like what it means as a genre, and kind of calls it superior to other genres. And I think like I'm not interested in doing that. And I think Iron Age is not really about, saying that certain genres are better than other genres or anything like that. It's more of a like, let's just make things and see who wants it. I mean, and Iron Age gets criticized as being a hug club.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Yeah.
But I think the people who criticize Iron Age as being a hug club are people who just don't get it. They're people who are used to different forms of gatekeeping. They're people who, in my opinion, are kind of stuck in the past when it comes to understanding like how the internet works and how things are promoted on the internet. And
Yeah.
they are just they want, like, their goal is to rebuild legacy institutions and be in control of them. And my
Yeah.
opinion is that we don't need to do that. The internet has given us the ability to find the people that we like and share the things that we like with them. And we don't need these legacy institutions anymore. And I think Iron Age is much more sympathetic to that idea
Yeah.
than Pulp
Mhm.
Rev. Just in a loose sense,
Mhm.
right? It's very loose though.
Right.
Like it's loose for me to the point where like I don't know if I would call myself Iron Age, and I don't know if I would, like, when I do have a new book to market, like I don't know if I'm going to slap hashtag Iron Age on it, just because like I'm not sure how meaningful it is.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but
That's been my question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that really, is it a marketing tool to say it, because
it's not
does
a
it sell
marketing
books?
it's not a marketing tool. It's just sort of it's a loose group,
Well,
right? I
Yeah,
would say.
Yeah.
I think of it as like Iron Age is just like it's what we're in, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
present, it's the times that are now, right? It's the
yeah.
times of the moment
Yeah.
that
And
we're just kind of um immersed in it. I
yeah.
don't know that. I mean, it probably will be used as marketing though at some point by someone.
Yeah. I don't ask that in a critical way. Like, it's okay if it's a,
Oh
Comicscape's
yeah.
a marketing tool,
I
but yeah.
I think that I think it has the potential to help readers find stuff
Mm.
that is that specific, that reaction against mainstream content.
Well,
Yeah,
right, like so
that's
any,
marketing. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it's useful, and it's very useful in that regard because anyone who self-declares as Iron Age is obviously, right off the bat that this is not going to be like what you said
Mhm.
earlier, some sort of preening lecture about recycling and
Right.
right, right, anything
Ah,
and
recycling.
a million other way more unsavory types of things that are just so pervasive in genre fiction today. Right. So anyway, right off the bat that Iron Age is not that. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it, like the people will say, well, it's too broad or whatever. But like, so are our genres, right?
Yeah.
Sci-fi is anything that's
Oh, interesting.
um like fantastical but takes place on other planets, even if it's still sword and sorcery, right? Like
Yeah.
if it takes place on another planet
Mhm.
as opposed to in a fantastical world, it's
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Everything from like preachy communist message fiction, like when I was a little kid, I think somebody told me the definition of science fiction is like it's sort of wrestling with the theme of like what can science do,
Yeah, I
right?
remember
Like,
that.
but I mean that's
not-
like one. On the other end, it's like pulp in a sci-fi setting is
Yeah.
also sci-fi. It's like it's
So the idea is that the term Iron Age could be used like a genre term to help readers narrow down their options. Like a reader can say,
That seems
I
fair.
like fantasy. They can also say, I like Iron Age fantasy. And then that is like a narrower thing.
Mhm.
They talk about different aspects of the media, that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I think about it. I don't know.
That seems helpful. When people describe, there's one thing I've been hoping, as someone who's just like I feel like kind of an outsider looking in a bit, though I like everything I'm seeing. There's one thing I want to do to like reinforce this idea of it just being just an age or just this thing we're in. Like I feel I want to say yes, and it's not, the mainstream is also, TradPub is also in this age. It's also exists, such as it is in 2023, but it's not Iron Age. So I feel
Mhm.
like, and I think that's a helpful distinction because in comics, when we talk about the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age comics, those are all descriptors of an age of the place where comics was in, where comics was, where the real momentum was in comics, in American comics specifically, and that was always the mainstream, right? So there's no one ever talks about golden, silver age indie comics. Indie comics are just assumed to not be part of that conversation,
Sure.
So
Mhm.
and what's so cool and so fascinating about Iron Age is I think it is an age, and the idea and what's trying to be indicated by this new interesting metal is that people are trying to say the momentum is not in TradPub or in all these other the media you guys talked about, video games, movies, and stuff like this. The momentum is happening in these kind of decentralized self-producing, self-publishing, crowdfunding spaces.
Mhm.
And that's what we're not even, we're talking about, this is just an age, and the times we are in have uh been revolutionized so much that the age is not defined by the traditional gatekeepers of those media right now, and that's the first time we've had an age where that was the case. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So hopefully you guys, I don't know, you feel free to disagree, but I feel like that kind of qualifies what you guys are going through in a better way. It kind of sharpens the what's so cool, the potential here. It is just an age, but there's a reason I think people are calling themselves Iron Age and they're not identifying with the mainstream, because
Yeah.
it's just not, the mainstream doesn't define the age anymore.
Mhm.
What a cool time to be alive, like you guys said.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned there's no like indie gold and silver age comics, and I think that's because like there weren't any indie comics then, right? Except for maybe like fanzine type stuff, right?
Oh, there were, there were, Mad Magazine. You don't have your Mad Magazine
Well,
behind you and the
well, I
complete
mean,
edition.
but I mean, but that's like sort of maybe indie stuff was like underground or
Yeah, like R.
parody stuff.
Crumb. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hate
but
Street.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
there
you
was
didn't
indie,
have
but
you didn't have like nobody was like making up their own superhero and circulating
Mhm.
had a circulation of a couple thousand issues of it in the 50s, right? Maybe I'm
yeah,
wrong.
that's true. It'd be hard pressed to people. I mean, obviously, people have always been just like you and I did as kids,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
When
didn't
was
have a
it?
readership of a couple thousand.
When was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
So that
Because
was
they were pretty.
that was like the mid to late 80s. That was like
Okay.
the indie
Yeah.
black and white. That was like the black and white indie
Because that was indie, right? Initially.
like
Yeah.
small publisher, yeah. So
Yeah.
there was a big small publisher explosion in the
In the
80s.
Okay.
But like before then, right? I mean, you didn't if you wanted to draw a comic and have it reach people, you basically had to go to work for one of the big comic publishers, right? You didn't,
Mhm.
nowadays you don't have to do that. You can create a comic and you can promote it and you can sell it directly to people and maybe maybe you have a small circulation, but nobody's stopping you. You can print on demand, even you could crowdfund. There's all these options that people just didn't have before. I
Yeah.
was thinking about this the other day, like even just like self-publishing books, you literally can't do what you can do now, right?
Mhm.
There was no print on demand before.
Yeah.
If you were going to self-publish books, you had to do like a vanity publishing. There was no way around it. You couldn't print a small number of books. You couldn't
Well, you
only print what
you could do like the first, like I think Laird and the creators of TMNT did, and you could just like photocopy stuff,
yeah
at your uncle's printer.
yeah
And so that was print on demand in a way.
yeah
But
at
yeah, you're right.
scans
No,
and stuff,
yeah,
but yeah
Mhm.
Yeah. It's good.
It's a
times.
brilliant time. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of fun. I'm having a ton of fun
Mhm.
connecting with people, reading their stuff, and like anything, some of it's good and some of it's not, but
Mhm.
everybody's doing cool things, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Things that they couldn't do otherwise.
Mhm.
Have you guys read Conan Esquire's Turquoise Serpent?
I haven't.
I
Yeah.
have not, but I've been meaning to.
Free Narnian, come on.
I know, yes. I'm
We're
sorry.
kicking you out of the DM group.
But, I mean, for how active I am in it.
Yeah. Actually, I
I
didn't know you were there.
To be honest,
I haven't finished it. I'm like I got halfway through like 8 or 10 months ago and I got distracted. But it's quite fun.
nice. I have no idea what it's about. The cover is so vague to me that
Yeah.
it doesn't stick in my head. So every time I think of it, I have to go and look it up and read the blurb.
Mm. Mm. Well, if I had to to pin a spoiler-free summary, it is it's like Hyperborea, but in Mesoamerica.
Yeah.
With like
Okay.
high fantasy. There's wizardry and
Mhm.
Okay.
ancient death cults and all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But with a very it's that beautiful hybrid of like well researched plus just very imaginative, like just natively a native intuition about how to speak that kind of genre, but from a like a Aztec, like pre-Columbian perspective that is
Huh.
distinctly pre-Columbian rather than like a more of a European perspective on
Sure.
fantasy, and it's
Yeah.
really lovely. It's very brutal. It's really lovely.
Maybe I'll have to pick that up. if I don't already
You
have it
should
somewhere.
you should read actual Conan first,
Yes.
and then
Ooh, yeah.
and then you'd have a kind of a baseline to
Yeah.
compare.
I am so back when I was doing my research for Dan the Distractor, I did a whole bunch of like web searching to make sure that I understood Conan. And like this book came up and then I found it in the secondhand store. And so I'm so pleased. But like
Nice.
I have, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that it's a good starting point.
I need
for
to
everybody.
read some of those too. I haven't actually read any of the stories. I've read a bunch of Conan comics,
Yeah,
but not the actual stories. And the comics are great.
I think I think one of the great tragedies of our time is that a lot of classic literature is shelved in the adult section when it has adult characters. So
Interesting. Yeah.
when
Mm.
I mean, as a kid, I was at the library every week, but like I never came across any of that stuff because they only shelve classic literature that has kids as the main characters in the kids section.
Oh, isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah,
I never thought about that before, but yeah, you're right.
it's really too bad because as a kid, I didn't get exposed to
Mhm.
a lot of really cool stuff, and Conan is one of them. Partly
Yeah.
because I was a girl too, right? Like, so I had none of like the comics or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was before I got the comics. So again, this is kind of like when I got into Twitter and a lot of the pulp riff people, were talking about Conan. And then I found a bunch of the Conan Marvel comics at a antique store in my town. So I bought them and I was like, wait a second. This is like fantasy. I just pictured Conan as just kind of like something maybe more like Tarzan, where it's just
Yeah.
like guys punching each other.
Yeah.
And the first one that I read it was just a really wonderful story, like with a wizard and like an ancient monster, and it's like, oh man, this is just so much more than I imagined.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
Conan's great, and definitely like required reading if you're interested in pulp,
Mm-hmm.
like whatsoever. I prefer Solomon Kane though, personally, among.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's
What's your vibe on Solomon Kane? What's going on with him?
Well, I think first of all, I like that all of the Solomon Kane stories are collected in a single volume. Like that just makes it
That's
convenient
nice.
for collection purposes. But I think Solomon Kane is a deeper character than Conan, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
the types of adventures he actually, in my opinion, a lot of people might disagree with this, but I think he actually goes on more interesting types of adventures than Conan does, because there's often a lot of twists in the Solomon Kane stories, or like the mission changes kind of halfway through as into circumstances, or like there'll be stuff added to the main quest, right, that becomes pertinent, whereas Conan, at least of the stories that I've read, does not have that as much, at least not that way. And I think
Mm.
because Solomon Kane is more rooted, actually, a lot of the stories are mostly grounded in reality. Like it's kind of like a 70-30 split between like historical fiction and then fantasy. Where like so like there's a story where he fights pirates and nothing supernatural happens at all. It's just straight up a swashbuckle story, and then
Oh, that
there's other.
sounds great.
Yeah, and then there's another one where he's roaming around a city that was an Atlantean colony in Africa that to be inhabited by these priests and Cthulhu monsters, but now it's owned by this African kingdom, and they're ruled by a vampire queen, and that's just totally off the walls. Like your
That's
head,
brilliant.
yeah. That's what I like about Solomon Kane, and that there's a nice arc to like the whole saga from the first story
Nice.
into like the last. If you read the Solomon Kane Homecoming one last, it really just has a nice, complete feeling to it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my spiel on Solomon Kane.
I'm sold. Particularly, I can buy it all at once. That's really nice.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's really nice. Just one nice volume, and you have everything there. The official release one has great illustrations in it. The artist Gary Gianni just has these fantastic drawings that go along with every story, and he just absolutely captures the visual mood of like this brooding, kind of gothic, uh, like I'm trying to think of the proper word, but like it's great because it's like dark, but it's not like noir dark. Like Solomon Kane is um himself such a fascinating character because he has like this wildness like Conan, but he thinks of himself as like a knight errant almost, right? Like
Mm.
an arbiter of justice, and he's God's righteous man on earth that's wants to right all wrongs. Uh, but he has this. He gets thrills from the same types of dangerous activities that Conan does, but he contextualizes it in his own crusade, and that he's overtly religious too. I mean, he's overtly a Puritan, which adds a very interesting element to everything.
I like that when characters just are religious and it's part of their character, and I think that's so often, especially in sci-fi fantasy, religion is left out completely, or like treated as malicious.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty. I think kind of like in our circles, like the trope it's made fun of a lot. The trope that the church faction is secretly evil the whole time. That's the big twist, and it's like that's been done forever.
What it is like people can't comprehend of a character who has like a genuine faith. Like they either have to be completely deluded or they are evil and lying.
Right.
And
Yeah, because for a long time, kind of in the popular milieu, the I don't know if this is kind of just my observation. I think, to me, just from my perspective, this type of thing seemed to really peak, like in 2013 or so.
Sure.
But like, there was a big time in pop culture where like the default assumption was like the intelligent person thought the way that Rick and Morty thinks. Right, that show, right? The Reddit atheist, right?
Yeah.
Kind of stereotype. Like, well, that's just what any intelligent type person, and therefore by extension any intelligent worthy fictional character by default is some sort of secular kind of nihilistic type of person. And so the idea that someone genuinely believes via faith in anything is beyond comprehension of a lot of people today, and that's unfortunate because that's a very impoverished worldview.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that people fall into it too. Like I was talking with a guy on Twitter. I did just like one of my like big account replies and said something about indies creating. I think it was that meme where the bus driver taps the sign that says the indies are creating the fulfilling media that you seek and not corporations. And I get replies like this all the time to that kind of thing. Just saying that this guy just said, like, my peers are creating crap. And he said something else as well. And I just replied, with like, enjoy the black pill. And then he replied back saying that it's reality, and reality is depressing. And like, I replied back and was like, life is what you make it, right? And I'm enjoying good indie stuff. And he replied back with, well, why don't you give me a good example? I guess I'm ready to be white pilled, right? Like, he just was in like a mindset of, well, a black pill just is reality, and to have somebody push back on that was enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to like,
extremely rare, by the way.
oh yeah, but like the perception that reality is that way, that nihilism is the way to look at stuff if you want to be realistic. I think that's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that in particular, that was a message that, in my experience, I can speak to, was very much hammered in high school. Like, Eddie, right? The more depressing, the more cynical, the more kind of misanthropic the worldview, the closer it was to reality. This was taught both. This was hammered in because in my high school, like, the English and history were like taught in tandem. Like, the teachers would collaborated, and so, like, that was the message. Like, all history is filled with horrible people. There are no good guys. And then in fiction, right, you get like the books that say the worst things about humanity, or the interpretations of books that lead you to the worst things about humanity. The more that is just the truth.
Yeah, they love the American lit what do they call it? Unit, right?
Yes.
That's
Of
like,
Mice
and
and
they,
Men made me quit fiction for like
oh
a year.
gosh, it's
I loathed it, and because I thought, if this is what good, the good books are like, then forget,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That one in particular broke me. I have a bone to pick with Steinbeck that has endured ever since then.
Well, you
Like
guys,
Georgia O'Keeffe. Did you guys ever get force fed Georgia O'Keeffe?
yes.
Okay, well, maybe you guys enjoy her. I don't know. In high
Let me-
school, she was my Steinbeck. She just killed a bunch of nice people and then told me that that's what life was. And at least in high school, I don't know.
You mean
Maybe in my wizened years, I can
Well,
appreciate that
maybe
now.
not.
But-
Maybe she's just
Do you mean the painter or somebody else?
Oh, I'm sorry, not Georgia O'Keeffe. The other Irish named oh gosh, isn't that awful? I said Georgia O'Keeffe.
I was like,
and I was like, yes, I recognize that name. And
I was like,
I'm so
I really
sorry.
like Georgia.
No, she paints nice pictures of flowers that everyone thought was something else that she said it wasn't.
Flannery O'Connor, is that who you're thinking of?
Flannery, thank you, the other Irish woman. Yes.
Oh, I read one story about her. Yes, I remember. The boy who like drowns in a river, and like the moral
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
it's good because he drowned before he had achieved the age of reason, so he went to heaven automatically, because like that's an interesting thing to say. Why are we
Yeah.
reading?
Yeah, a bunch of like 14-year-olds having to wrestle with mine was A Good Man Is Hard to Find. That was something about a family getting abducted, I think, by a highway murderer and then getting executed in a forest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was ninth grade.
she was part of the Southern Gothic tradition, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I see her praised a lot, but after that one experience, I have not had a taste to explore more for work. Another just I feel like the only required reading that I enjoyed in high school was actually Tale of Two Cities. Just because
Oh, sure.
I really did like the prose, actually, like the purple prose of Dickens in that particular
Hmm.
book. I really appreciated, and the fact that he goes against radical mob violence, which is an idea that has always appealed to me since I've had
Mm.
a known myself. Is that right? Um, so yeah, I really like that one. But yeah, man, oh gosh, we had like and another one that was good was Scarlet Letter. That was
Yeah.
Sure.
that was
Yeah.
a hard reading for us, and that was one
Hmm.
that I thought was good. But man, like Grapes of Wrath um, was a nightmare. The Jungle,
The
right?
Jungle.
You know, like this is like just like the most cynical, rotten, you know,
Yeah.
depressing material to be giving to teenagers. Like
All through their entire education, emphasizing how important reading is, and then right before they become adults, giving them everything that is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
They don't even build them up. Like,
No.
yeah, build a positive foundation for them and then help them
Mhm.
evaluate it and understand its contours and complexities and exceptions.
And I think it's because it's linked so much with teaching it in the context of like a historical movements.
Mm.
mhm.
I think it would be it would be better if they taught it in a different way. But because there were philosophies going on at different points in America's history, right? We're exploring different ideas. What you end up with is books that are playgrounds for these stupid ideas, right? Like
Mm.
instead of being good stories.
You know what we should do? Like, if you guys, I don't, do you guys, how often do you guys stream? Is it once a week or?
At least, yeah. We've played with the idea of doing a little bit more often. But
I'd love, I don't know, you guys, I don't know how interested you are in talking about American Gothic, but I think I can white pill people on American Gothic as a genre generally, even though it has its notable, you know, Irish women who have written it poorly. I think it's a fascinating kind of way at getting at the American spirit and what Americanism is. That could be fun for for October in particular.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like everything Edgar Allan Poe ever wrote is like
Oh, 100%.
great.
Yeah,
I
Did you
mean,
guys
very
see
American in a lot of ways.
oh no,
Yeah.
The
yeah, Poe
haunted
is
frontier, like trying to escape the cobwebbed past of our ancestors that we never actually can escape. We bring them with us and they haunt us still.
mhm.
It's very American. We're trying to frantically escape the clutches of those mildew cobwebbed you know the anyway. Yeah. I won't
Yeah,
get started. I won't spoil it, but we could have a lot of fun with that.
the Poe's work would definitely reawaken, come back into people's consciousness, especially in our
Mm.
circles. I mean, go and read The Mask of the Red Death and
Ooh,
tell me
yeah.
about how and then just contemplate on its relevance in our times. Absolutely, hands
Okay,
down.
that's great homework.
Wait, have you guys not read it?
No, I
I
haven't.
did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's my favorite Poe story, and I
You
think
just
every
phrased it
time
as "go read."
every time I've read it, I've enjoyed it more. But the last time, I'm like, this is just so apt for things that I think we've gone through in our culture recently. It's great.
But like, if you think about the literature that you did enjoy from English class, can you remember talking about what made it good, or was like all of the conversation centered around the thematic philosophy? Because that's what I remember.
Yeah.
That is a good question. And yes, I think most of the class was around what is the author trying to say? Very little. Maybe sometimes I think like my senior year, and especially when we did poetry, we were able to do like technical analysis. Like why is the sentence pleasant and like in a
Sure.
poetical sense, right? But yeah, mostly remember, yeah, it was about the idea, you
Yeah.
know. Um especially with authors like Steinbeck and stuff. It's like, doesn't this prove that FDR's New Deal program was a good idea because what keeps the Wrath is right, right? And right. And so like to approach it like that just kills your aspirations to read, because it's the
Yeah.
most leaving aside political opinions, but like to approach it
Sure,
from
sure.
that angle first is like the most prosaic and soul deadening, mind numbing way to look at a book, right? Just read just read economic essays then, if that's all you're gonna do, if
Mhm.
that's all you care about. Why waste our time with Tom Joad and his thoughts of things? Or the jungle. Someone I like a comment went by in the jungle. I saw that said that was like an incoherent screed about communism, and that's Upton Sinclair. Period.
Yeah.
It's just an incoherent screed for communism. That's every. I've read that, and I read Oil, which is a wonderfully miserable book about about again the how the Christian is the evil hypocrite. Like the Christian character in that book is like this Joel Osteen type who gets himself rich, and he like goes around in a limousine and hypocritically talks about caring for the poor, but he's like bought off by the oil company. It's the archetype of kind of what we're saying, the negative portrayal of Christian characters.
Does he at least get beat to death with the bowling pin though?
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think that happens in the book.
Really? Aw.
No, yeah.
Come on, Upton Sinclair, leaving us hanging.
Okay. Do you guys want to see real quick what we bought?
Oh yeah,
we
the
go
We
on
Threat
never
the
talked about
Streets.
Legos. Yeah.
What about Legos? Oh gosh. Do you still want to do Legos?
I mean, if people are
Yeah,
willing
if
to
people
hang
wanna-
around, if people want to hang out, we should make good on our description of the stream though. So
I suppose.
and this isn't shut up and listen to us. This is still, we want to
Yeah.
chat and hear from everybody and hear from our guests and everything. So I hope this is a fun conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't, oh, look at our great book purchases. This is, hey, let's have fun talking about fun books.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's see here. Should I?
Do you want to just hand me whatever's on top there?
Yeah. You bought most of the stuff
Yeah.
this time, I guess. But
Oh no, you bought.
yeah,
well, it's all one.
I've got a few things.
You want to hand me the one off those two large ones off the bottom?
Sure. Well, I can talk about this one.
Okay, sure. So I got a couple of things for the kids.
Do you want to make us bigger?
Yes. Yes. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this in a nice way. I don't want solo layout necessarily. This one? There.
Perfect.
I got this cool Peter and the Wolf book. It's laid out like a graphic novel or a comic. It's got really nice.
We're collecting a lot of books for our kids now
Yes.
that we have more space. We've talked about this before. The library in our town is kind of garbage, and it's like you just buy books. I'm
You can't trust them.
I'm it's like I can't be bothered to
Yeah.
try to get things through the library.
Yeah. So this is just a cool thing that I had never seen before, and so I grabbed it.
Yeah, I didn't see the inside. So you said, yeah, it's kind of like a.
Yeah, it's laid out like a.
That's really interesting. You see
Yeah.
that? It's like
Kind of a. It's illustrated sort of in a grid.
Yeah.
It's almost comics like, and yet
Yeah.
not. That's really fun.
Yeah.
there's some
Panels that are just all words.
And then some that have like stuff across the bottom. Yeah, it's really nice.
Mhm.
It's very creative.
And then I grabbed a little golden book of Rapunzel that's not Disney. This one, Prince blind, thrown out of the tower, the good stuff that had to be taken out.
The good, wholesome, traditional German optimism.
My daughter was just pleased as punch. She's like, "This is their daughter." It's like the flower girl at their wedding.
It's like I hope that's not their daughter.
I've been keeping an eye out for this ever since it like shot up to really expensive on Amazon.
Oh
He
yeah.
Bear, She Bear.
Ha! How
Very extremely politically incorrect now.
that's a seminal counter-revolutionary text.
And it's just your generic egalitarianism. Like, we can do all these things you see whether we are he or she. That's the
Yeah.
conclusion of the book.
I don't know. I don't trust a woman to fly a plane.
Amelia Earhart? I mean,
Yeah, how'd that go?
wait. Was it Berenstain or Berenstain?
This one is definitely Stain.
Okay, so that's the timeline I'm in. Okay, good.
Yeah.
It fluctuates. I
I
lose track
swear,
sometimes.
when I heard that for the first time, I was floored. My mom was like, "Yeah, it's always been that." I was like, "Mom, you read this out loud to me. I know you didn't pronounce it Stain."
Well, I mean, we do a little quantum traveling. It's all in good fun.
Apparently, my mom didn't.
Resident One used to have a LP of
Yeah.
Peter and the Wolf. I gotta find something like that. I'm sure I could
That's
find it
nice.
online because the whole point of Peter and the Wolf is like it's to teach little kids about the orchestra.
Yeah,
So our daughter would actually be about the right age for that.
we watched after we read this. I watched with her.
The whole thing.
It's like
It's like
a half hour long.
Yeah.
It's the one that they showed in music class whenever there was a sub.
Okay.
So,
So she's seen it already.
I mean, it's a puppet version.
A puppet version.
Like, it doesn't really do much to emphasize the music of it. I mean, there's a little bit at the beginning, but
All right.
and then I found this, and I think this is super cool. This is a Redwall map and Riddler.
I always wanted that as
So
a kid, and I never had it.
there's the Riddler book on this side. Oops, sorry. And then this folds out.
Careful.
I have torn many a map that
Yeah,
folds out.
we won't fold it all the way out, but
It's huge.
it's a really big map. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
So yeah,
They're still making new Redwall content? That's fantastic.
this
love to see it.
one- Let's see.
No, this is old.
This has got to be old.
Yeah. This is all.
Copyright 1997.
Yeah, this is all half price book stuff, so it's mostly
Yeah.
old.
Well, kudos for finding it. That's great.
All right, that's the end of my stuff.
All right, so
I didn't get anything for me.
oh, what's this?
That's what. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I did get something.
All right.
Robert Frost. It was my grandma's favorite poet.
Mm.
This one is favorite poems for young readers, so I thought I would share with my kids. I think I was saying to David, I think it's important to share poetry with kids that isn't kids' poetry. Like
Yes.
you kind of get this impression growing up that poetry and rhymes are for children because all of your kids' books rhyme. And then you grow up
Wow.
and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there's poets in their corner, right? Like,
Mhm.
You can take down his comment.
oh, I'm sorry. So
That's kind of a nice old
Yeah,
copy
it's
too.
old.
When is that from? It's probably 50s, right? 50s or so.
1959.
Nice.
Copyright 1916.
Oh, and
So-
sixth printing 63.
Oh, this is the sixth.
Yeah.
printing. Okay. Yep. So 63.
It's a really attractive book.
Yeah.
It's like that one.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even see this
Yeah.
underneath the
It's really cool.
jacket. It's got a nice
Oh.
little. Robert Frost. One of my favorite poems is the fence poem. The good fences make good neighbors poem. I feel like it's a wisdom poem.
All right, so I was in the kids section and I was looking at the Star Wars books in the kids section and I found this really cool Star Wars Power of Myth
I'm
D-
really excited.
DK
about
book.
this.
Interesting.
So I've been trying to I've started buying Star Wars books that were kind of like from around the era, like when I was a kid and into Star Wars. This one is really neat because it kind of goes through like the hero's journey and stuff. I know people on Twitter hate the hero's journey. Right, here's the call to adventure. I love the hero's journey though.
Yes.
Both my novels are hero's journey stories, and so there's it's a nice mix of like images from Star Wars and like historical art and other things like you'd find in a DK book, and it's from around the time of the Phantom Menace, so it's just like the perfect set of Star
Oh,
Wars.
of course. The cutaways. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah,
Oh, I had those. Oh,
it's got both
Brilliant.
some original trilogy and Phantom Menace stuff in it, so it's just like just perfect,
geek.
and it's in really good shape too. So
Well, like
This is-
those. That's excellent. Those the cutaway books and
Yeah.
the visual
There's-
dictionaries.
there's the canon. I don't have these two original trilogy ones but I have the two Phantom Menace ones from when I was a kid.
Mm.
So you can take all the other ones and burn them. In my opinion, that's the canon
Yes.
right there.
Yes. No, absolutely. Well, I have the I think I still have from when I was a kid the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith like visual dictionaries. I don't think I ever had the Phantom Menace one.
I'll allow it. Okay, so the next thing I found also over in the kids section is I finally found a bunch of Animorphs books. So ever since we decided, okay, we're going to build out our library and we're going to like choose to start spending money collecting books to build a library for our kids. I've been looking for Animorphs books, and the only one that I found so far was this pretty nice copy of the Andalite Chronicles. This is honestly the first time that I've actually seen Animorphs books in half price books. I think people grab them. I think there's a little bit of a demand for them.
Well, we found that tin
Yeah,
in Barnes and Noble, 1 through 5 tin,
yeah.
and it was
It was like $50 or something. And
Yeah,
I mean,
it was-
it's a new new release, right? They've reprinted the first 5 or so.
Yeah, but it's still crazy.
Yeah. I mean, because they're or it was like 30, maybe 30 or 40 bucks, maybe not 50.
I think 40.
Yeah,
That seems
because
to-
I mean they charge 10 bucks for a book nowadays. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so I found a nice, and they're not in perfect shape, but like pretty nice. So I got and they were really like $2 or $2.50 each. So I got 2, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that was a really good find.
Yeah, and they're all like $2, $2.50.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was honestly expecting to see them be like $4 or $5 when I found them, because I feel like they're probably rare. I don't know, Free Narnian, did you ever read the Anwar's books?
No, I didn't. I was those are yeah, I think we're of the same era, but I never read any of them.
Yeah, they're really wonderful. They're sci-fi books, which I didn't know until I started reading them. It's an alien invasion, a secret alien invasion, and the kids get it's a scientific technology that lets them change into animals, and they just kick all kinds of ass. And they're really brutal. So
Mm.
The covers scared me as a kid, so
Yeah.
I never touched them.
they're kind of neat, examples of like art of the time, because it's like, cutting edge like computer art of the morphs, and then also
They have a
in the corner, I can't really
I remember those. Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that they did that. Yeah, so I like
Yeah.
I
little
was
animated
Oh, that's fun.
morphing.
yeah, definitely my friends read them, but yeah, I never was that interested in them. But that's cool.
They're neat examples too of just like a good, like each one is very self-contained. There's a big story, but they're like you don't have to read them all, and they're good. Probably, I don't know, like 50,000 word like pulp action, exciting stories, and brutal. I remember being kind of scandalized by how violent they were when I was a kid.
They feel kind of pulpy too, because they're
They're actually
actually printed
Yeah.
on crap paper.
yeah.
That's difficult to pull off, to have like a bunch of self-contained stories, but like in a overarching thing.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I found is this really old book called Building a 3D Game Engine in C++. So this is I debated whether or not to buy this book, but I decided to. It's from about 1995, and it's a book about like writing 3D, like doing 3D graphics programming in DOS. I have a lot of experience from when I was younger of like DOS game development, and it's got nice assembly language, nice 3D math. It's not like the most cutting edge thing for the time, but it's just kind of a neat historical artifact, and I might try implementing some of the stuff in this book at some point. So it's a cool find.
That's fun. You
Yeah.
said you have experience developing for DOS? That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I learned programming from my dad, who used to write Quick Basic programs like in the late 80s to mid 90s.
Wow.
Under DOS. So Quick Basic was my first programming language, and my first big project, like really big project, was a game that I was developing in high school using Quick Basic. It was like a Japanese RPG. I did a lot of like assembly. It was written in Quick Basic, which is terrible language for game programming, but it had a lot of assembly language for like tile scrolling and sprite drawing and stuff. And the story of that game is what turned into my book. So the very earliest iterations of my creative project was like a game that I was making when I was in high school, as a DOS game. So, all right. So then the last thing I got here is some comics. I always try to find at Half Price Books. They have like a clearance comics bin that I always like to look through. First, I grabbed one thing that wasn't from the clearance bin. The Max #2. $2 seemed like a good price for this, so I grabbed it. They actually had a whole bunch of a lot more expensive comics.
They did. Yeah.
It was really fun to look through because it was
That was cool.
really nice collection. Like they had Spawn, 2 and 3. They had Max #1. They had Batman Year 2. It was all really expensive, but it was neat just to see such a good collection all in one spot.
Mhm.
So,
It's one thing to know that like those comics are out there and they're expensive, and
Yeah.
it's another to see them. And
yeah,
they're
and you don't
expensive.
usually see them all in one spot like that. That was basically like a collection of books that I want to own someday, and they were just all there like in one box. But for now, I'm buying some random Cricket stuff. So I got Youngblood Strike File #7. Not really for any particular reason. Then I just grabbed this when I see it, and it's 50 cents. So nothing lost there. Operation Night Strike #2. This is a book you just get because it's a Rob Liefeld cover, and this is like him at his peak, almost at his peak, like crazy. Just like, what even are you looking at here? I don't know. And then it's kind of cool. Something I like about these actual comics is the ads. There's an ad for Comic Zone for Sega Genesis on the back. That's kind of cool to see an ad for Comic Zone on a comic.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I saw this and I was like, oh, awesome. It's a Jay Lee Namor. So I'll take that for 50 cents. And the cool thing about this book too is it has some kind of neat stuff in it. So other than just being generally like really gorgeous Jay Lee art
throughout, stuff like this.
In the back, oh yeah, just look at this.
How gorgeous is that?
In the back, so the end of the story, there's a few of these cool like character bio images, and I just like to see stuff like this because I'm always thinking about like visual art to promote things on social media, and I'm always imagining like what would I do, like if I could hire somebody to make art of my characters, or I can make good art of my characters, like how could you make striking images to show and like give a sense for what the story is about. So it was really fun to open this book and find that in the back, because it's not always something that you see in a comic. So that was really cool find. Really striking, really striking art.
Well, that's a good use of, like, you were talking at the beginning of the stream, like the unique ways to use the medium, and an advantage of. I like it when comics. I'm not a big comic guy, but I like it when comics they do something to where they make like the owning of it worth your while in that way.
Yep.
Inclusions of extra art, or to someone as like who is like a total novice in terms of like the technical analysis of a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Just as like someone who would be like just an average consumer, I appreciate when they really showcase itself as a product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the last thing I got here is just this other issue of Namor. This isn't Jay Lee or anything, but again, it's like if I see something like this from that era, early 90s, with like a crazy cover. It's got this crazy foil cover with like the Fantastic Four on it, and then it's got like I mean, they're not cut, but it's got like trading cards and stuff on the inside. It's like you just grab it because that's worth 50 cents. So
that's great.
Cheap entertainment. And the artist here isn't anybody that I recognize. It's Glenn Herdling and Jeff Isherwood. Storytellers is how it credits it, but it's actually really nice art. I would definitely read more of this guy. He's got kind of a neat kind of a neat, a lot of little details to it. So kind of a neat look. So some great splash pages in this book too.
That's great.
So yeah, cheap entertainment, I like to say, for 50 cents. All right. Well, I think that's it for our
For our
book haul.
book call.
That was a fantastic haul.
Yeah.
That's fun. Every time we go there, I spend money.
Should we save the Legos for another night?
Yeah,
It's
my eyes are
Kinda late.
tired.
so we'll probably another night this week, sometime during the week, we'll stream some
Yeah.
Lego building. Why don't you pull down the
big one.
yeah, well,
This
we can just
behind us here is
show
our
people
current
where we're at.
piece.
So this is what we're working on building right now. This is the part of this build that's over the bridge, and there's this bridge and a pavilion, and then underneath the pavilion is the forge where they reforge what's the name of the sword? And Anduril / Narsil.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Yep.
And
Nice.
This is the other half,
Rivendell, yeah.
Yep, this is Rivendell, yeah.
the other part that we've done so far. So here is Arwen's couch, her fainting couch, her I'm so sexy couch. And here is Frodo's bed for recovery and / like Bilbo's like writing corner
Mm-hmm.
with a little desk in there. It's really dark, so you can't see too well.
And then one of the murals there in the back. So this is just a little sliver of the
I'm just
main-
enjoying that tower. That tower's fantastic.
It's really nice.
and it's really crazy sideways building techniques too.
It's an extremely
And it-
satisfying build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the mural bricks or is it like a single piece?
It is a sticker.
Yeah, it's a single piece
Okay.
and then a sticker, but
Okay.
they're kind of
It's the
cool because
side.
they're Lego those murals are Lego interpretations of like the same murals that are in the movie,
Yeah, yeah.
which I believe are
So like you can
Is it-
see
um
it's the same mural that they look at in
Yeah,
the movie,
the Alan Lee
Yeah.
paintings.
but it's Lego people.
Hmm.
So yeah. So that's a third of the build.
Yeah, so the final part will be the main section of the Rivendell building with the actual council. I'm thinking the actual council of Elrond will be the last part.
And here's our peoples that we have so far. We have a ring bearer, Sam with frying pan.
Excellent.
It's a essential piece. Old Bilbo,
And he's got the
Einstein here.
and then his alternate face is the snatching the ring
No.
Oh, fun.
face. So
Gandalf. With
no, that's not Gandalf.
That's not Gandalf.
That's
Who is this?
That's
Glowing.
Glowin.
like, wait a minute, this
Gandalf.
isn't Gandalf.
Gandalf the fat dwarf.
Gimli. This is him with his helmet on. We agreed that this helmet is, I think it's a subpar. It's
Yeah.
a downgrade from the last printing.
It's better in some ways, but I kind of like the original design better. And then I think this is the forge elf. So,
And
and I don't know if we're even halfway done.
Uh,
Maybe about halfway.
about halfway.
Yeah, because I guess there's 3 books and we're about halfway through the second. So
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
this has been a year-long project. If it wasn't for streaming, we'd probably knock it out over the course of a few days or a few weekends. But it's been really fun just to stream and have an excuse to just be on and talk with people and everything. So,
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
yeah.
So this is 6 of 14 figures.
Okay. So about halfway.
About halfway. All right.
Well, should bring back the group layout.
Yeah.
Say thanks to our guests and everyone who came.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Sorry we didn't get to the Legos, but I think we had a really fun conversation.
Oh,
And
that tonight was great. I always love running the gambit with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it looked
fun.
like the chat was enjoying it. Appreciate their contributions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, sorry we derailed the Lego side of things.
No,
but-
not at
Totally
all.
fine.
There's always another stream, and the goal is to just have fun.
Yeah.
So
We should try and figure out how to do something a little more regular, consistently, where we have people on and talk. Because
yeah, I honestly wonder if we could just do like sort of a green room group chat where we always post the link, and then whoever's around is welcome
that
to
would be
join.
fun.
So
Hmm.
I know you guys always are. It's good.
I dig that. Yeah.
We
If
have
I just swing by, see you guys are live, and just
Yep.
click the link.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, and it's fun. It's fun. Like you were talking, Matt, at the beginning. It's like, we've been able to find those people that we have enough in common that we can just have a conversation, a random conversation on a Monday night about who knows what with. So definitely more of it is a good thing.
Yeah. Generic plug. Do you guys want to promote
anything?
talk about where people can find you?
Well,
You go first.
let me gracefully slide into this. I think most the chat knows me on Twitter, but if you don't, my username is the Free Narnian, and my handle is the Free Narn, so you can find me that way.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm just running around as Matt C on X, trying to finish up fulfilling book 3 of Kyrie, so I can start drawing book 4.
Nice.
But yeah.
Do you have any place where people who would want to jump in can buy the originals, or is that only something that you offer, like the first person, only something you offer during a campaign?
Oh, absolutely. If you go to mattkrotz.com, or you could just look for Kyrie. The campaign is still live on Indiegogo. You just look for Kyrie, like the Celtics point guard, or like the 80s pop song One Hit Wonder. Yeah, however you want to pronounce it, it's fine by me, so long as you know how to spell it and look for it on Indiegogo.
So Katie's gonna bring up your.
Is this it? Current?
Yep. Oh, you didn't have to bring up my link.
Oh yeah.
Why not?
We're pretending to be Comicsgate here.
Oh my gosh.
Fill each other's stuff, and Katie and I don't have a crowdfund, so we have to live vicariously through you, Matt.
I promise all the fun is had by watching people have campaigns. It's only stress when you're actually having to produce it. But thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you guys for just I don't know, for the lovely conversations. Frankly, I've been trying to find people outside of these normal circles, these CG circles, to have conversations with. So it's nice to find people who are thinkers and writers, contemplators, memers. Well, hail and well met.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. We'll
come back tomorrow for my
video.
Yeah,
we're posting a video that we made in the car with controversial opinions about the value of editing. Names will be named. except not because we edited them out. So
I did a lot of editing
Yeah.
on this one, just cutting out, you know, because we're driving. And so we're thinking about multiple things. And when we're thinking about multiple things, we slow down a little bit. David would turn on his blinker and guaranteed he would say, you know, and think for a little bit before he finished his
Right.
sentence.
but yeah, watch for that video. It'll be a good one. I think if you like our weird takes on things,
Yeah.
that'll be a
And
good one.
it is more of a indie author relevant one because it's specifically about editing and developmental editing and whether or not it's worth it. But you know, if you like to hear us talk,
Mhm. All right. Well, thanks again.
you guys have a great
Have
night.
a good night.
Thanks. You guys have a good night.
See y'all.